meeting is being recorded.
Hello and welcome to the first of two Black History Month virtual events brought to you by the African Festival of Arts and Culture Society, AFACS. Now, Black History Month is a time to reflect on the past and also to acknowledge the accomplishments of our courageous acts of people of African descent in the development of Canada. So tonight we will celebrate our culture. We will enjoy some cultural presentations from some of our wonderful performers. But first, let us welcome the AFACS chair, and that is Mr. George Mbamalu, to give us a few remarks.
Thank you, Candy. Good evening. I want to acknowledge that Nova Scotia is the unceded land of the Mi'kmaq. And wherever you are this evening, joining us in this webinar, I encourage you to recognize that the land you are on is the unceded land of the First Nation people in your province or territory. Thank you for participating in our 2022 Black History Month special events. Africa Festival of Arts and Culture Society scheduled these events for February 12, 2022. But because of the COVID-19 pandemic infections, we rescheduled it to March 12 and March 19, 2022. That is today and next week, Saturday. Africa Festival of Arts and Culture Society is a not-for-profit organization. Our vision is a multicultural society that provides for opportunities to everyone to realize their fullest potential and participate meaningfully in building and developing a sustainable multicultural society. Our 2022 Black History Month theme is Our History, Then and Now. This theme came from the understanding that history is developing and repositioning. Some forgotten elements of our past may define our current circumstances. As a result, AFACS created a program for this evening that will genuinely reflect that understanding. Tonight, we have Manaf Zora discusses forgotten Africa kingdoms and empires. His discussion centered on the notion of leadership and democratic governance. Many people believe democracy is an import from Europe, or as we know today, Western civilization. This is definitely not the case. The fact slavery defined the history of early Africans in North America is tragic. Our history deserves better than that. This evening, Amani and L. Jones will perform spoken word, and Amadou Kienou will lead the djembe drumming workshop. Next weekend, Fayates will perform rumba music from Paris while discussing the history of rumba music. Amadou will also lead the djembe drumming workshop next weekend. Mohamed and Maria Durante will play dundun drum and dance. Olugu and the Malaria Warriors will drum, and Ifo will do storytelling. I am sure you will enjoy all aspects of these events. I want to use this opportunity to thank our sponsors, the Government of Canada, the Province of Nova Scotia, and our partners for providing funding for this event. Finally, I would like to announce that our 2022 AfriFest at the Sackville Landing, Halifax Waterfront, will be in person, running from July 21 to 24, 2022. We look forward to seeing you there. Thank you and enjoy the rest of the webinar. Over to you, Candy.
Thank you, Mr. George. Thank you for welcoming us. So our first performance tonight is by the master drummer, Amadou Kienou. So Amadou is the seventh son of a family of praise singers, the Kienous of Burkina Faso. Now, Amadou brings the traditional to the contemporary. He delights both local and international audiences with his unique expression of emotions and memories. Tonight, we get to enjoy solo drumming from the master himself. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Over to you, Mr. Amadou.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amadou. That was amazing. And please make sure you stay with us till the end because we are still going to have a workshop with the master himself and teaching us a little bit more on the drums. And our next up on this amazing lineup that we have today is the spoken word by Elle Jones. So Elle Jones is a poet, she's a journalist and a professor. She received her PhD in cultural studies at Queen's University. She was the 5th poet laureate of Halifax and a 2015 resident of the International Writing Program at University of Iowa. Elle won two Atlantic Journalism Gold Awards in 2018 and 2019. Not only that, in 2016, she was the recipient of the Burnley Rocky Jones Human Rights Awards for her work with prisoners. Without further ado, please welcome Elle Jones. Take it away.
Good evening. Thank you so much. And thank you for having me. This ocean is spread with our bones, fed by our flesh, ripped off our thrones to be thrown to its death, stripped with whips and our tongues taken out of our chest. Slavery broke our families from our lungs, stole our breath from the hold of the ships to the chains on our necks, and they deemed us as property, only a check. And these docks in this city, it profited, yes, no, not just the South, not just in the US, so these warehouses filled with the fruits of our death. As the goods came and went and our bodies were spent and the merchants saw profits go up by percents and the sugar came in and the salt cod was sent. And when they could no longer own us, they shifted to rent. But though we were indentured, they could not prevent. I don't think they imagined the way we'd ascend. And that's why our culture's all over the net. We've created from nothing again and again. But a stroke of a pen or a cent to a bill, it can't erase centuries of them taking their fill. Look at Haiti, whose freedom they've punished until for centuries that blood has continued to spill. For the slave revolution, they'll never forgive. We've been held to the ground from here to Brazil. And oh God, did we build? We built Citadel Hill, left on the rockiest lands that we tended with skill. We weren't meant to survive, they intended to kill. And we're only still here by our faith and our will. And still, we can't rest. We're still treated as guests. And still we are tested, street checked and arrested. Still slave on the farms picking fruit, unprotected in the streets. Name for slave owners still uncorrected. You can't look in our face and say we're truly accepted. And our ancestors' dreams unfulfilled and deferred. But we still believe freedom is more than a word. And we won't end our struggle on August the 1st, and we will not dry up in the sun. We won't burn, and there's power in our steps. We're done waiting our turn, but this still isn't freedom. Not yet. We have made it this far, but there's further to get while you still cross the street because you think we're a threat and you still send police to kick us out of our tents, and we still live in a world where Black life is condemned while our modern oppressors come round like their friends and they offer us grants for our pressure to end, but we will not be bought and our struggle won't sell because we know we inherit generations of strength. Our great-grandmothers cradled their babies and wept while the milk dried up in their breasts and their shoulders were bent, yet they still gave us life. We are here in their debt, and what we owe each other can only be felt. And that's why when we pass on the streets, we nod with our heads. And that's why when we are pressed, we will always protest. Just like the moon and the waves are a timeless duet, we are pulled by our history to never relent. And what you don't see is the love we still lend. We can't even say our lives matter without causing offense, and yet we're not broken and we will not bend. And every concession they try to reject, freedom never was given. We crawled and we crept, but every inch we've progressed, there is so much still left. But emancipation still comes through the pain and the theft, and this still isn't freedom, not yet. The destruction of Africville we can't forget, nor the graves where our bodies are buried unmarked, nor our elders' land titles exploited by sharks, not while children still hate that their skin tone is dark, not while children still doubt they could ever be smart. The hope and dream of the slave still burns in our hearts. Our elders have carried us over this far until everyone's free. We still follow that star, just like all of our people who died unremarked, because we are called, as the spiritual says. We're not meant to be here. We're meant to be dead. And so every day of our presence is blessed. And one day we'll be living our life at its best, but there's not one Black life that will ever be left. Till we all stand together, we will not accept, because this still isn't freedom. Not yet. We have made it this far. There is further to get. Thank you, everybody. Since we just passed International Women's Day, I'm going to do a poem. Sorry, I'm like drinking water and leaning out of the frame. I'm going to do a poem to uplift the sisters. So this is a poem about the importance of sisterhood in our lives. Now, when I say a sister, she doesn't have to be related. Some sisterhood is born and some sisterhood's created, and sisterhood is rarely celebrated when the media tells us women just can't get along. And so many images show us doing a sisterhood wrong, so we forget that sisterhood is the strongest force on earth. Why would I ever get my worth from putting down my sister? When I know that I rise every time that I lift her, and when I stand on her shoulders, I know nothing will shift her because we are a team. And so I boost my sister up to her dream, because when she succeeds, then we all flow upstream. And on the days she can't love herself, I hold on to her self-esteem. And I take her to a mirror and I wipe away the steam, and I tell her that I will always see my sister. And on days that I'm down, she brings me ice cream. And when I have doubts, and my sister believes, because everything we give to our sisters, we also will receive. And I know that there's room for all of my sisters, so I want her to succeed. I don't waste time putting down my sisters, because all of us will go where one of us leads, so I always hold the door open behind me so my sister can proceed. And I know she puts up a strong front, but my sister has needs. And when the front cracks, then I'll be her shield. And my sister acts so tough, but I know what my sister feels, so sometimes I offer her a shoulder to cry on. It's my turn to be the rock my sister can rely on until she's ready to spread her wings, and then my sister will fly on. And when she takes flight, then she'll carry me. And our bond doesn't break even when she gets married. Sometimes our relationships change, but our sisters make us happy. And we know that she'll be there even if our man leaves. And the media tells me my sisters are competitors, cheats, and thieves, but I don't feed negativity about my sisters. And when she goes through hard times, I let my sister grieve. And when my sister thinks she can't go on, I help my sister breathe. And if he ever hurts my sister, then I help my sister leave. And until she finds her voice, I help my sister plant a seed. And for every sister on a platform, there's a sister standing there beneath. And if you ever talk about my sister, you better bring receipts, because let me repeat that I'm down for my sister. And sisterhood is richer than diamonds or silver, so don't you ever try to devalue my sister. And sometimes my sister is lost, but I'll always miss her. When she's ready to find her way, I'll be right there with her. And if someone ever comes for her, well, then I have her back, and you better know you'll deal with all of us if my sister gets attacked, because we are an army of sisters. And when you hurt one of us, it causes us all harm. So I'll wrap all my sisters tight in my arms. If you ever cause pain to any of my sisters, we'll sound the alarms, because don't you dare ever hit her, and don't you dare ever diss her. When my sister tells me she's in pain, I will always listen to her. And we don't betray each other to get attention from misters. And I don't give any space to gossip and whispers, because there's small-minded people, but sisterhood is bigger. And I allow my sister to make her mistakes, and I help my sister grow. And so we both shine. I help my sister glow, because she'll show me a way through the dark. When I need a boost, my sister makes me laugh. And sometimes my sister has to act like she's hard, but sometimes you need a rough surface for a match to strike a spark. And when she loses sight of her beauty, I help my sister know. And when my sister has struggles, my own steps will slow because we always pick each other up. And when my sister is thirsty, I give her a cup. And sometimes I argue with my sister, but we always make up because sisterhood is strong under pressure. And my sister doesn't always know that she's a treasure, but every sister is special because sisterhood is precious. And so I don't measure myself against my sister, but my sister makes me better. And sometimes I spell it with extra letters, SISTAR, because me and my sisters shine stronger together. And in our old age, our love will get deeper. We know the higher we climb, the road just gets steeper, but through all the obstacles, I am my sister's keeper. Thank you. I'm going to do one more for us, and then I'll let you go on with the night. This is an older poem. Remember what it used to mean to be Black? Not this corporate brand image they've sold us as Black. Not this you're not good enough if you can't afford it, Black. Not this you're not good enough if you can't record it, Black. I mean the real Black. The Black the media ignores. I mean the Black that means we support each other, Black. I mean Black fathers taking care of their sons and daughters, Black. I mean the giving your family your last quarter, Black. I mean the important Black. The I'm so fortunate to be Black. I mean, like how I saw photos of afros on Victorians, Black. I mean how Black soldiers fought in the Civil War, Black, the Black not taught by historians, Black. The railway porters and walk through back doors, Black, the fight for the cause with no rewards, Black. Let's go back to the source and find the core, Black. I mean the got your back, Black. Not this crabs in a barrel stab you in the back, Black, but like the Harriet Tubman, Black, the Black and Night carrying the children out on your back, Black, the Black back scarred with whip slash, Black. I mean, how she helped slaves escape and kept coming right back. Not this platinum chains and I'll get mine, Black. I don't know what that's called, but that's no Black of mine. You see, I believe Black is a pure state of mind. I don't believe in a Black that sells out its own. That is not a Black that our grandparents know, and it's the only Black that my TV screen shows. But if I want real Black, I'll go to our so-called ghettos, where we're giving the clothes off our back, Black, where we're sharing the last of the loaf, Black. I mean, so that one will not starve, we will all go hungry, not this get rich quick crap, show me the money, that Black is a trap, that Black makes us ugly. That is not the Black I learned from my mommy. The Black I believe in goes way, way back. It's not this image we see on TV of Black folk gone wild. That is no kind of Black we should teach to a child, but the sacred Black faces we see in the Bible. It's like Pharaoh's daughter pulling Moses out of the Nile. It's the Queen of Sheba's caravan taking 3 weeks to arrive. It's the Ethiopians and King Solomon and Ham and the Kemites. It's the Black Madonna out of whose womb comes all life. It's not that basketball Black that's just there to sell Nike. I mean the universal principle of Black in the psyche. I mean Black goddess and Black God and the spark we ignite. I mean how Jesus looked like you and like me. And so I look around and I see the word Black is in crisis because I turn on the media and all I see is Black vices, and they call that Black entertainment, but it's white kids who buy. And it makes me sad knowing our youth worship these fallen Christs, never knowing we were gods before Europe saw light. It's like going to the slave market and slapping on a price, and these diamonds, they kill us. That's why they call them ice, because they make us cold-hearted. And that's a Black I don't recognize. And they use the word Black for all the things that are pessimistic, like Black-hearted, blackballed, blackmailed, and blacklisted, but I don't listen because my Black belongs to the scriptures. When I hear the word Black, it's the angels I picture. When I hear the word Black, it's my brothers and sisters. When I hear the word Black, I think of Egyptians. It's time to get back to real Black definitions, because if it's triviality, I don't call it Black. And it's not just physicality that makes it Black, but the enlightened mentality it takes to be Black. I mean, the Black that belongs to infinity Black. I mean the Black that recognizes its divinity Black. I mean the original civilization fertility Black. I mean the Black that taught the Greeks philosophy Black. I mean the Black that revolutionized hockey Black. I mean the Black like brown sugar and coffee Black. I mean like when you hear that rhythm and say, that's gotta be Black. That's the Black they can't hide behind lock and key. It's the Black that sometimes other people call cocky, but I don't knock that Black. It's the fake Black that shocks me. I mean, this violent Black that calls us all demons. I don't know that Black because I've never seen it, but that's the Black that eats away at our self-esteem. It's the Black that makes our brothers make hoes out of queens. It's the same Black that says, go for the green. It's the Black that kills our men in the streets when they're teens, and it kills me to know that's a Black we believe, because the real Black I know is a Black that's for peace. The real Black I know is the Black that I mean. Remember what it used to mean to be Black. I mean the real Black, the Black that is selfless. I mean the Black in the skin of our slave ancestors. I mean the I would never wish to be anything else Black. I mean the original Black, the Black that's a blessing. I mean the Black we see at night when we look up in the heavens. I mean the Black that goes back for 200 millennia. Let's remember that Black, because we've never left it. That's your Black mother's breast. That's the Black we inherit. It is not the real Black. If somebody can sell it so the next time that they try, can just one of us tell it, brothers and sisters, they can't make us forget it, because I know you remember what it means to be Black. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for listening, and have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Elle. What an amazing performance. Thank you for reminding us what it is to be Black, the real Black. May we always remember what it is to be Black and live Black. Thank you very much. Up next on our amazing lineup is African Kingdoms by Manaf Zora. Manaf Zora is originally from Western Sahara. He has spent a lot of time researching the history of the forgotten kingdoms of Africa and the empires. He is very passionate about African history. Tonight, Manaf will lead us through the forgotten kingdoms and empires of Africa. These include Zimbabwe, Egypt, Zulu, and Ghana. This one is very close to home for me because I am from a tiny kingdom called the Kingdom of Eswatini. Please stay with me and let us enjoy the presentation by Manaf Zora. Over to you, Manaf.
Hello. Oh, sorry. Hello and greeting. May the Lord peace and grace, the merciful, the most grace descend on you. Thank you for inviting me, and I welcome everybody from around the world to our presentation. Dr. Mablu asked me to give this presentation, and the first question he said, let's talk about our history, and did our civilization and the knowledge that we gain in Africa came from the West, or did the African started it, and which one come first? So through my research and me going to Africa, working offshore, I created a small presentation, Kingdom of Africa. I picked different regions of Africa to represent them. The whole research based, there's a lot of kingdoms in Africa, and due to the time, we cannot cover all, and each kingdom's it's a wealth of knowledge. So my chosen, it's based 100% on science. What I mean science, archaeology. I am not looking at historian, because most of the African history is vocal. So you could always debate history. And also I'm not looking at faith, because religion or faith, you cannot really argue, you cannot prove or disapprove. So I stuck with science. Also, the second reason that I wanted to focus, if you go take a trip to Africa, I want you to see the archaeology, this building, the statue. What I'm talking about, you could actually take a camera as you go into Rome or as you go into Greece, and you take all the pictures of the monuments, while Africa has the same. So for no further wait, I will jump right into the presentation. This presentation, I'm freestyling. I don't have notes talking. So if you have any question, please write your questions. And Sister Candy, she will provide the question and I will answer them. Like I says, I'm freestyling the entire presentation. I'm using as well whiteboard to explain, like I said, 7 areas of Africa. I am explaining the kingdoms. I'm not going through every kingdom, but what I'm doing is I'm involving 3 stories. What's Africa without no story in the end? And I'm using whiteboard to explain the story. So bear with me if I'm switching and taking time. So to answer Dr. Mavlu question first, when Africa history started, well, I started it right there. When God said, let it be light, and there was Africa. This is day 1 of African history. There is nothing older than Africa in case of history. So to answer that question. So we're talking kingdoms of Africa. There, I involved a map that shows all the kingdoms of Africa. As you could see, there's a lot of kingdoms. I did not involve any kingdom with an outsider influence, like for example, the Zanzibar, and because they came from Oman, from the Arabia Peninsula, a lot of Arabs influence in North of Africa. So I left those out. I left a lot of kingdoms that happen in Madagascar, which they are influenced by Asia. I only stuck to African kingdoms from Africa. So that's why I eliminated a lot and I kept few. So we start the story, if we all heard of it, the vision of a king. If you look at Genesis in the Bible, 41, there was 2 full years has passed. The pharaohs had a dream that his dream was done in the Nile when the Nile River came to 7 cows, and the 7 cows, one were fat, then they came sick later on, ugly and grand. This story is cut and paste exactly in the Holy Quran. So if you have a Christian faith or a Muslim faith, these stories are exactly Joseph's story, the son of Jacob. And both of them, Joseph came as a slave to Egypt. And while he's in Egypt, he was taken and captured, and he was taken under the king of the Pharaoh. Joseph came in and became the first economical, and he saved Egypt from a drought coming in. And the story in the Holy Quran, same thing. If you read it, All Man Truth explain about the servant, fat cows eating by servant. So all the religions in earth right now that survive and people follow are Asian religion. Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism, all descent from Asia. But even those never survived in Asia, if you use it all Asia, they survived and they flourished in Africa. And you say 2 stories, cut and paste, talks about Joseph, the same man who entered Egypt and brought all the Jews from the land of Canaan all the way to Egypt. So our first area we're going to take, and the first was Egypt and the Nuba. Scientists differentiate between Egypt and Nuba, depends who you're talking to. A lot of people actually, they involve them as the Egyptian Empire. The Egyptian Empire, the first country on earth, the second civilization after Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia is actually located in Iraq, and the word is actually a Latin word. Meso, middle, like Mesoamerica, and Potamia, like hippopotamus, means water. In Egypt is the first country. What do I mean by first country? Every country is ruled by a king, and it has a border. Egypt has a border. They really, the signs of the borders of Egypt is very well known. They always have a pharaoh sitting on a chair or a cobra that defended of Egypt. If you're going into the land of the pharaoh. They're very well protected. On the east side, they have the Red Sea, which is 100% protected. You could see the enemy from far away. In the north, what we call north right now is the Mediterranean. And on the west, you get the Great Sahara Desert. You could see the enemies. The only place that the Egyptian, they have to make a clear border was in the south where the mountain is. So that's why in Mesopotamia, there were 3 different kingdoms and they fought each other. The Egyptian, they worship the Nile. The Nile is the source of life of Egypt, which the Nile starts the Blue Nile starts in Uganda from Lake Victoria, what they call, Western call it, in Africa, the Nilotic people called Lake Nile, and the other side of the Nile started in Ethiopia or Habasha, with if you talk to Ethiopian. They meet in what we call today Sudan, in the capital Khartoum, the two Niles to create the mighty Nile, that one of the first rivers in history beside the Tigris and Euphrates, and they're only mentioned in all holy books, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. All the standing structure on earth, there is 118 pyramids in Egypt and 255 pyramids in Sudan. A lot of people do not know that Sudan has more pyramids than Egypt. And pyramid is a burial ground, but the most famous one of the Giza pyramids, due to the Sphinx. When you want to go, instead of watching pyramids and after pyramids, most people want to see the Sphinx and the three pyramids, Khufu, Khafra, and Manqara. Nine was the heart of life of Egypt people, God of the sun, Zora, and God of the Nile, the most two worshipped God. They discovered literally everything you go with right now in earth. It had to start either in Mesopotamia or in Egypt. They discovered astronomy, medicine, glass. A lot of places, a lot of scientists around the world still do not know a lot of the medicine that the Egyptians do, a lot of astronomy. They just discovered that every pyramids in Egypt and Sudan is located under a star in the sky that most scientists till 1960s didn't even give them names. So the Egyptian, they have very great map of the universe and on the sky as well, instead of the Greek coming in thousands of years later to give them the name that we know today. Their border extended from the Mediterranean Sea to modern day Uganda. The word Egypt, it is the only country actually in earth they have registered in the UN two different names. Egypt is actually a Greek word, means a Coptic man. What means a Coptic man? When the Egyptian came and took Alexandria, the Greek and the Romans, when they took Alexandria, they looked at the African, they were darker skin, and the African were smaller size in that part of the world, and they called it the Coptic man. There is a Coptic religion, Christian Coptic. Do not confuse it between a Coptic man means an African man. In Arabic, they called it Misr. When the Arab took over Egypt and they kicked out their Greek and Roman in Alexandria, they called it Misr. And Misr, it's an Arabic word mean a province. So it was a province under the Islamic Empire. So Egypt right now, they have actually two words. There is in Egypt is the English word or Latin word, and the Arabic, they called it Misr, the Arab Republic of Misr. So when we talk Arabic, you will never hear the word Egypt. You'll always hear it Misr. But the ancient Egyptian, they call it Kemet or Kimt. It depends on how you translate it. Egypt was invaded by the Persian, Greek, Roman, Arab, British, French, and the German. Why? Where is it located? It's the bridge between Africa and Asia. It is the first in everything. There is the richness of Egypt. Still, scientists are puzzled how the Egyptians do it. A lot of people wrote a book, how the pyramids getting built, and they still don't know how they built it. And my answer to them, African built it. You could dig as much as possible. It could go. You still cannot believe the Egyptian, the Africans built the pyramids. I'm rusted it out there. In Egypt, this is the Great Pyramids. I'll show you a couple of pictures in the slides. The pyramids, Khufu, Khafra, Manqara, they're named after Egyptian kings and their wives in the smaller pyramids. So even the wife have smaller pyramids and the men has pyramid. This is in the older kingdom of Egypt. In Sudan, much later, which they call the Nubian. In the Nubian, they have pyramids, but they're smaller and the angle is very sharp, as different than the Egyptian one. The Egyptian one is the first. In the Nile in Egypt, I will give you a couple of stories. In the Nile of Egypt, Egypt has a hieroglyph writing. Africa, what the problem with Africa, there is no writing system in all of Africa. Africa, the writing system did not get created. And all the writing in in Africa was adopted by surrounding countries from Africa. Egypt is the only country or any place in Africa they have a writing system, because the writing system in Africa, they use hieroglyphic, which is pictures, but they knew how to write and read the Mesopotamia writing, which is the Carboniferous, which used nouns instead of writing style. So I could write any language in the world in the Sumerian text. The Egyptian knew, the Egyptian expanded their empire to modern day Turkey. They're the first people to invade land outside Egypt. In the south, the Egyptian had a very fair treat with the Habasha, which is Ethiopia and Somalia. But in the north, they actually expanded the empire through invading Lebanon, Syria, and all the way to Turkey. Hieroglyph was a language that no one knew how to break till they found what they call the Rosetta Stone. The Rosetta Stone, it is a translation between the ancient Egyptian hieroglyph to ancient Greek to Roman. And that rock, unfortunately, you could find it in the British Museum. Fact, why the pyramids not in England, although when the British came to Egypt, they thought of taking the smallest pyramid and put them in downtown London. And an archaeologist plus an engineer came in and says, to take it, the cost of taking it apart is like rebuilding them from scratch. And the only reason they didn't take the pyramids to England because they were too heavy to lift. Simple as that. They took everything right from mummified. In Egypt, there is more, about 5,000 mummies. When the British came in, they took mummies out of Egypt. They didn't know what to do with it. They actually used the bones to fire the train instead of coal because it was cheaper to adopt them from Egypt. Egypt starts dates with written date on paper 3200 BCE. There is no civilization as old as that in history. So if a civilization lasted that long and is the most continuous civilization ever inhabited Earth, the Egyptian, how they lasted that long and all the invasion without the technology and the knowledge that we gain in Africa. Nile is the longest river on planet Earth. The Blue Nile and the White Nile unite to the Khartoum. Then the Kingdom of Kush, established much later, 2450 and 1450 BC. The Nubian language is the closest language in ancient Egypt. Fact, when Egypt and Israel had a war in the 50s and 60s, the Egyptian lost tremendously using Arabic, and Arabic came from the Arabian Peninsula. Then they realized if I use Nubian language, which is a vocal language that no one wrote it or read it, and we could use it as a code because in Israel, they have all the American technology, all the American codes, and the Egyptian didn't. They used a Nubian warrior in Egyptian army on the battle who's communicating in Nubian. And they won 1961 battle, and Israel decided to invest to write a dictionary to translate the Nubian, so it's not a new language for them. So by going back to simple language in Egypt, they won 1961 battle and they liberated Sinai in that battle using the Nubian language. Nubian language is the only language in Earth as we speak. They still carry words as the Egyptian from 3200 BC. They're located in the south of Egypt. If you ever visit Egypt and you go to the Nubian, which is in Aswan area, the Egyptian people from Cairo and Alexandria, they always nicknamed the Nubian the son of the Nile, as the Nile gave birth to their sons, which is the Nubian. Very friendly people. I advise you to go there. The Nubian language was used in 1967 war. Another thing is, if you see everywhere in Africa, when the Western came in, they took a lion and to shape their strongness. The crescent of Nova Scotia, they have a lion on it. If you look at the Canadian passport, they have a lion, although there is no lion in Europe. If you look at the coat arm of England or any European country, about more than 70% carry lions. The African never carried a lion as a hero animal. Only one tribe in Africa, they used actually a lion, which is the Maasai on the East Africa. The Maasai tribe, you could find them in Kenya and Tanzania and in Mozambique area. To become a chief, you have to kill a lion and use his skull as your chief. But when it comes to kingdoms and kings, they use the leopard. And I have this picture that I took from one of the tombs in Egypt in Luxor. Leopard, it shows clearly it's a leopard. Why leopard? Leopard is the only animal in Africa that hunt alone. He doesn't hunt in a group like a lion. Plus a male or female leopard, it will hunt eye to an eye. He will never kill a prey to look at him in the eye. He will never an ambush. And he could climb a tree. He could go under the ground. Also, he doesn't let someone else hunt for him. The lion used the female lioness to hunt for him, and he's the first person to eat, and he only gives protection. While a leopard, he has to do the work himself. So to become a king, you have to kill a leopard with your own hand, fight one-on-one, and you have to wear a skin, and that to show you're a king. Also in Egypt, there is one more thing that is distinguished in any kingdom in Egypt. In Egypt, at the beginning, before the 3200 BCE, the Egyptian Empire, they ruled the North Egypt and South Egypt. What do I mean by North Egypt and South Egypt? Egyptians look at the world upside down. What do I mean by upside down? They look at the North Pole as the South Pole, and the South Pole, they look at the North Pole. So for them, the Upper Egypt is the birth of the Nile, where the mountain is, where the Lake Victoria and the Nile, the mountains, the roof of Africa in Ethiopia unite in Khartoum in modern day Sudan. That is the birth of the Nile. And since there is a mountain, the vulture, the bird, lives there. And to become a king of Upper Egypt, you see on their crown, you always see a vulture. But when you go to the southern side of Egypt, where it's Alexandria and the Fan, if you look at where the Mediterranean Sea, the river meander. They meander like a cobra snake. And if a king or a queen of Egypt wear a cobra, that means she is the queen of southern Egypt. In year 2000, scientists figured out that the Egyptian were right. How is that possible? The southern magnetic pole, the magnetism start from the southern hemisphere to the north hemisphere. And if you look at Earth as suspended in space, it actually upside down. The Egyptian, again, one more time, they were right, using geodesy science, that the Egyptian right. So after unification of Egypt, the north and the south, you will see the Egypt, as you see Tutankhamun picture, has the vulture and the cobra. That's mean I'm the king of entire Egypt, of entire kingdom, the north and the south. One story I will end up with Egypt here. When Moses, if you're a Muslim, Christian, or Jewish, or you believe in those three religions, you will hear the story of Moses. Moses, he descended from a Jewish family, but the Egyptians, they were Africans. He grew up because his sister, the king's sister, couldn't have a kid, and she saw him in the river between a tree and the water. And in Hebrew, Sha means a tree, or shajara in Arabic. And Mai in Arabic, or Moi in Hebrew, means water. So she named him Tree Water, Mo-Sha, or Musa, or Moses in English. So the name came in from Kemt, Moses, water and tree, and she raised him. In the Quran, there is a story that Moses, one of his miracles, besides putting the stick on the ground that turns to a cobra, Moses, he was dark skinned. And one of his miracles in the Quran, that he put his hand on his chest and it comes out and it will light the room or light the sky, depends how you translate it. He could turn his color of his skin, but the original color was a darker skin. That's written in the Quran. In the Bible, the sister of the Pharaoh, they raised him. When they figured out that he was Jewish origin, they were disbelief, because you look like us, you look African. How does he descend from Jewish? If you see the movies right now, they have a blue eyes in the movies, but in reality, if you look at the Bible or the Quran, it proved that Moses was a black person who lived among the Egyptian black, and they lived there. Napoleon Bonaparte, when he came to Egypt, the first thing he went and knocked the biggest statues earth was, and still was, in the all the way to 1943, the Sphinx. And he beat the Sphinx with manjanique for a week, and he could only knock his nose and his beard. Unfortunately, the beard right now in the Egyptian museum, and he destroyed the nose. And if you look at the nose of the original Sphinx, he was an African, purely, but they want to rewrite history. The next kingdom, I am jumping from kingdom to kingdom just to give you the highlight and where our history starts. We started with Egypt, the most ancient, the first. That's basically right after there was light in earth. Africa was, then the Egyptian civilization. The next one I want to mention is Aksum and Ethiopia. If you talk to an Ethiopian, they will tell you their name of the land is called Habasha. We have a straight documented. You could see it on the wall. If you go to Hatshepsut's temple in Luxor, you will see the trade between Hatshepsut and the Habasha people and Somalia area of Horn Africa. The first people to cross to Yemen, so actually they went, instead of going to north outside Africa, they crossed Bab el-Mandeb Strait in the Red Sea, and they actually invaded Yemen and they took Yemen. The story is in Yemen, they were ruled by a Jewish king. So all of Yemen, by the Himyarite Empire, they're ruled by a Jewish king who hated Christianity. That's way before Islam. Then he wrapped up all the Christian and he put them in a dike on the ground and flamed them, and he was killing them alive. So who survived in modern day Saudi Arabia, in a small city in near Hijaz, they wrote a letter to the king of Ethiopia. Ethiopia king is the first kingdom on earth that accepted Jesus as their savior. The story is the son of King Solomon, his name is Melnik, married the queen of Sheba, which was the queen who ruled Yemen, and brought the covenant to Ethiopia. The 10 Commandment was carried from Palestine at that time, all the way through Egypt, Sudan, and landed in Ethiopia. There is actually a temple in Ethiopia right now, a church that holds the 7 Commandments that no one allowed enter due to the holiness of the 7 Commandments. So they brought that king in Yemen. They start butchering and killing the Christian. So they wrote a letter to the only Christian country. The debate right now, which is the first Christian country, either Ethiopia or Georgia, but historian more lean toward Ethiopia, that it is the first Christian country. He answered for them. They told him, if you don't save Christianity, will be abolished. He crossed the Bab el-Mandeb and used elephant first time. The Arabs, the southern Arabs, never seen elephant in their lifetime. And he actually took over Yemen and he conquered Yemen. The Aksum in Ethiopia during the 1st century, Aksum Empire accepted Christianity as Jesus is their only savior, the first place on earth documented, although Georgia have a strong case as well. Asma ibn Abjar, who was the first time emperor of Aksum, gave refuge several Muslim in the kingdom of Aksum in 614 AD. The story in here, Muhammad, the prophet, when he came in, he preached Islam as he's the father of Abraham and father of Virgin Mary, is the same God of Islam, the same God as Christianity, same God of Judaism, and all the prophets. If you look at the 3 holy books, they cut and paste, especially the Old Testament and the Hebrew Bible or the Islamic Makki verses. In that story, that Muhammad, the people around him, they actually alliance between the Jewish and the infidel to destroy Muhammad and destroy Islam. And in Muhammad followers in that time, there were only 2 followers that are Arabs, which is his cousin Ali and his friend Abu Bakr. And everyone else was slaves. But I mean slave in Arabia. Slave, it doesn't mean blacks. Whatever the Arab catchers, they said slave. There was a white slave, Asian slave, black slave. If they could make money out of it, the Arab will sell it. So all the slaves who converted to Islam, accepted Muhammad as the final prophet, they gang on them, all the tribes, and they say, we'll eliminate them. So Muhammad asked them to run away and to go to the place where their nearest religion, which is Christianity, ruled by a king that's way later than now, like in 614, and ask him for refuge. So the Muslim went in there and they asked for refuge, while the infidel, the Arab leader, came in there and says, Muhammad curses the virgin. And in that time, the Bible only known by the king and the higher priest. So when they recited the Quran and showed this is the only religion on earth beside Christianity who believe in Jesus, were Islam. There's no religions on earth believe Jesus, son of Mary, ever existed on earth except Islam and Christianity. So because of the closeness, he gave them refuge, and he says the attack on Muslim is attack on the king of Habasha himself, which was the biggest kingdoms in East Africa, and he occupied Yemen. And the army with elephants, the Arab has no match. And that saved the beginning of Islam. That is the light that started Islam. It became the second biggest empire due to King Asama. King Farideh Castle uses South Arabia language. Remember that in Africa, there was no writing. Once they take in Yemen, there was give and take between them and Yemen. The Yemenis are Arabic. There is no language actually called Arabic. If you look at history, if you dig the ground, there you cannot get an Arabic writing, let's say past 2,000 years, Arabic writing. Arabic word means clear. So when in the Quran, when God says this book is an Arabic book, that's mean the Quran is a clear book. Those who want to know. The word Arabic came in later. In Arabia Peninsula, there were 6 languages, which is they all mixed together to make modern day Arabic, 4 in Yemen and 2 in Iraq. And the mix between them came today Arabic. Due to the exchange, they actually took the handwriting from the Yemeni, from the Arabic, one of the Arabic language of Yemen, the Himyarite to be exact, and they brought them in. And the writing they used the Hebrew alphabet with the Arabic writing. That anciently, today, Ethiopia has their own writing. It's the closest to Hebrew and is the closest language to original older Arabic than the newer Arabic. And for that, they could they start documenting the history once they adopted the language, the writing style, which is an evolution in their history of Ethiopia. This is a picture of the Queen of Sheba, which she was an Ethiopian. She married Melnik I. Hence, the most Ethiopians, especially when you go to the capital Addis Ababa north, not the southern, they don't consider themselves actually from Africa. They consider themselves one of the 12 tribes of Israel, since their father is Melnik, which is the king of Solomon, which is the king of the Hebrew in the Bible. The southern, they are African. They consider themselves African, but they are the first Christian on earth. It depends who you're talking to. If you go to Ethiopia, you will find monastery top of the mountains or dug right in the ground, hand curved. The architect, when the European came in, they were amazed how they created it. They actually shaped the earth. As you could see here, this is one stone. They did not have a lifter. They did not have the engineers. They actually carved the ground from the level of the ground down to the monastery. In this way, they will protect the monastery and the treasure of the monastery. No one could attack them from outside. There is a way you get in through cave system that if you're not from Ethiopia, you cannot get into the monastery. If they did not have the knowledge of the technology of carving these areas, how did they do it? And when the Western came in, these places already there. So if you ever go to Ethiopia and you go to Aksum, you will see an architect touched by no one but Africans. So this is a story I would like to begin with Ethiopia. I want to tell you the story of coffee. So in all the coffee around the planet started in the Habasha land in Ethiopia. In Habasha, After accepting Christianity, there was a shepherd by name Chaldee. Remember, they have a writing. If you could see the picture on the right-hand side, that's the writing. It's the closest to Hebrew, using older Arabic. They adopted it from Yemen, and you could see the kingdom of Aksum. It contains all of Ethiopia and Eritrea, and also all of southern and Yemen. They ruled it for hundreds of years. That shepherd, he saw that his goats were eating beans, wild beans, and the goats were not producing milk, and they're not going to sleep. So we started drinking it, and he said, I should report it to the monastery. So he went into the monastery and told them about this beans and what it could do. And the monastery never paid attention to it till Easter or Christmas, depends what story you hear, that in Orthodox, they pray overnight. All the monks in the monastery, they pray all night. And they were exhausting. So they decided to drink coffee beans. While they drink the coffee beans, it became a ritual to the Ethiopian. They drink coffee. Till this day, if you get invited to Ethiopian coffee, Robusta, there is a ritual how they scoop it and they have to present it to you. But when they sold it to the Roman and the Greek and the Indian from India, they actually boiled all the beans. So when you actually buy it, you cannot plant it. And you always have to come back to Ethiopia and you actually buy it from the Habesha people. So it's a continuous, if you want coffee, you have to come to us, and you cannot plant it because when you boil it, the seed is dead. Till they actually took Yemen, they start planting in Yemen. The Arab looked at it and they start selling themselves. They sold it all the way to Turkey. When the Ottoman Empire came in, the Arabs and the Ethiopian liked coffee. The Arab called it qahwa, and qahwa means the depressor of hunger. So when you cross the desert from Yemen, going all the way to Iraq or modern day Syria, you're going to cross the Arabian desert, very hot, very thirst, very hunger. If you get a shot of coffee, you will oppress your hunger and you could continue your journey. When the Ottoman took it, they loved coffee. In Islam, a woman cannot divorce a man unless there is two reasons, and only two reasons, either by abuse, or he have to provide her a room that she basically could change her clothes and have one meal per day. And if he cannot provide that, a woman could divorce a man. The Turk added a third law that has nothing to do with religion, and a cup of coffee. That's actually a true story. If a man cannot provide his wife a cup of coffee in Ottoman Empire, you could divorce him. Due to the mines and due to the business of coffee that happened in Ethiopia, Ethiopia started their own money that you could made of gold. They called it the Golden Kingdom due to the exchange of money. Everywhere, like the Romans, they had silver, they had copper money, they have gold money. Ethiopia only used gold coins, and they only accept gold coins to buy coffee. The coffee was passed in. The European did not discover coffee till World War I, when the Turk in Austria and Vienna got retreated because the death of the last Sultan. The Ethiopian, they left the coffee mugs there. The European drank it, and the first people drank it. They thought it's amazing. They burnt them on a stick. They told them the devil possessed them. They cannot sleep. Then till the Pope tried it, and he said, no, it's acceptable. And the French brought it to the New World. The coffee in North America, it got changed because of the soil and the rain. They called it Arabica, and they gave the name Arabica because they're the first people who actually sold it as a bean from Yemen to the world, while the Habesha people only left it for themselves. They traded with the Persian, Rome, Greek, as far as India. Larger spoke, the biggest port that the Arabs sent the coffee from, which is only coffee they dedicated a port in Yemen, is called Mocha. Till this day, you could actually go take a picture of Mocha port, hence the coffee Mocha. By the way, in that area, there is a Swahili land. It's an African language mixed between an ancient African and Arabic. Mixed together, we came to Swahili. In in English or in the West, take any Swahili word or Arabic word, put the exact translation, and you will have an exotic word. For example, Sahel in Swahili or Arabic mean coast. So Swahili coast, you're really saying coast, coast. Same thing if I tell you Sahara Desert. Sahara in Swahili and Arabic mean desert. Sahara Desert mean desert, deserts. Chai tea, chai in Swahili or Arabic or Portuguese as well means tea. When I say I want chai tea, you're literally telling me I want tea. Hence, Al-Qaeda, the terrorist, Al-Qaeda means base. When they say I bombed Al-Qaeda base, that meant I bombed the base. So when the West came adopted, they made their own and they made it mine, while we have it for thousands and thousands of years. The only thing, like I said, it was like the writing system. So we move in right now differently to Kingdom of Zimbabwe in the south. The kingdom discovered, I just put a quote, it got discovered, which I always say, when you discover something, what about the people who were living there? So they did not know, how did you discover something? They were there and they have a writing and they have architect that you could go visit today. So discovered by German historian, he said the first things, he says, they were not African who built this. This is much smarter people than African, more sophisticated, more advanced and engineered to build. The word Zimbabwe means the house of stone. In Greater Zimbabwe, just outside Harare, there is a village that made all stones, like a wall stone that is masonry heaven, to go and see how they actually put the stone. A lot of people go to South America to go to Machu Picchu to see the stone. Well, if you want to see the Machu Picchu of Africa, hit to Zimbabwe. He thought it was too sophisticated for African to build it. The main people that lived was Great Zimbabwe, descended from Bantu people of Cameroon. I always had a problem with the Bantu people. The Bantu people, there is no such a thing called Bantu people. It's a group, subgroup language. The people who spoke Bantu, they came from an area of Cameroon when they traveled all over Southern Africa and Central Africa. They are not a race, it's not a blood, it's not a gene. It is a language. That's why in South Africa and in Zimbabwe, I remember Zimbabwe was the biggest white population in all of Africa was in Zimbabwe prior to the last ex-president when he came and took over and he disbanded them. When they went in there and they said, this place is supposed to be European because no one lived in the Cape of Good Hope. No one lived in Cape Town. When you migrate, the Bantu people migrated. They came and lived here the same time we arrived. So it's a fair share that we split this land. Knowing the Bantu people, the San people, were living there forever, but they were a small population. So the San should take the southern side instead of you cultivating on Bantu. The Bantu is languages. They descended. It did not come as a race. They started to trade gold with the Swahili coast, which means coast. Rapta city and African, Indian, and Arab traded between each other. Just want to remind you, when the Arab came into Africa, the Arab did not penetrate the interior of Africa. They always stayed in the coastline. In the coastline, for example, Mozambique, the country Mozambique, a guy named Busa bin Bir came from the Arabian Peninsula, started in an island they call the Golden Island, and he started trading there as a post. Same thing with Zanzibar. Zanzibar was the Omanis, a country called Oman. The Sultan of Oman came and took Zanzibar. He loved Africa so much that he actually made his capital, Zanzibar, that he ruled Oman from Zanzibar. He reversed it. Came from Muscat to Zanzibar. All this area, they started trade with the great kingdom of Zimbabwe. And in the trade, they actually found maps. And on the maps, the trade routes, how they go to Mozambique or to go Zambia, which sultan they went. But remember, there is no writing system, but they have maps to prove that they have a very economical way of trading. And not only this, they actually have a sun and the moon. And later on, historians figure out that they actually show which route, which season. They knew, although Zimbabwe is a landlocked country right now, they knew the movement of the tide. They knew the current. They knew the monsoon season. They knew a lot of information. That's why they built the route. University of Oxford, they went and they tried sailing in the opposite time of the year, and they failed using the old Zimbabwean way. When they actually followed what they said in the map, which season, which route you'll take, they found how economically thriving and how they thrive in Zimbabwe. Gold was transported through Mozambique to Zambia and finally to Mozambique, Arab in 1331, and the Portuguese in 1498. They sent the trade city, Kilwa, as the island of full gold found in Zimbabwe. They found a treasure, all the gold that they came to Zimbabwe, because Zimbabwe, there is no mine of gold. All the gold came from outside through the trade system. But they found an island that the entire island were full of gold. The Portuguese kingdom, they said 1/3 of the income of the kingdom after discovered a pile of gold, that the Zimbabwean didn't know what to do with it. They trade and they only used gold to buy from the Arabs and to buy from the Indian trade. But among themselves, they used cattle. So imagine what's a better way that you actually, I'm taking your gold, which means nothing to me, is just a shiny object. It means something to you, but to me, cattle, it's my currency. But I will take your gold and I will leave it if I need power or to buy weapons. Very, very sharp way to do work. There were trade posts such as Mani, Kienou, which is in Mozambique. It is right now a 5-star resort, and you could go to this old villages that they had still the post all the way from the 1300, still in those villages. The only problem is the hotels there, it's $500 plus, because it is a masterpiece of beauty. Every picture is a screensaver, which holds a map of their route back to Zimbabwe written in stone. That's the only island beside the maps. The maps actually, they're all located in England. Beside the rock maps that is actually in Mozambique, and in the island of Mozambique show you Zimbabwe on the map, the Great Zimbabwe, to the route of trade. Another tribe came from Magdalena in South Africa. They traded gold with Zambia. Remember, today in Zimbabwe, there's 2 tribes that rule Zimbabwe. There's the Shona people and there is the Dibali. The Dibali are actually one of the cousins of the Zulu tribe, which we're going to discuss later on when we look at another kingdom of the Zulus. They actually, once Shaka Zulu passed away, which we're going to discuss that, they departed north, and there is a mountain located today in Zimbabwe. It's the holy mountain in the Zulu culture, and the Dibali took over the southern. The Shona actually came from Cameroon. They actually came later on in history and take over Zimbabwe, which the migration of the two tribes, which makes Zimbabwe right now, the Shona and Dibali. This is the roads inside the kingdom of Zimbabwe. You could see how the rock was done. If you don't know how to do rock, these rocks would not even, if you try to build a wall in your garden, and if you're not a master mason, your rock will collapse within next winter. These rocks be sitting there 1,000+ years, not the weather, not the rain, no element could knock them down. If the knowledge came from the West, why they're still standing, why they're amazed how we made them. And they said, it must be people from outside. Some people said the Arab came in, Indian came in. Some people said aliens came in. And my answer to you, simply African created them. The kingdom of Benin, the Benin kingdom, it's in West Africa. I want to mention a lot of countries in Africa today named after great kingdoms, but the kingdoms is not in that country. It's a little bit confusing, but I want you to open the mind that they didn't want to copy and paste the names repeatedly. So everybody picked a name of ancient kingdom and they named it after the ancient kingdom. The kingdom, the Benin kingdom, or if you speak to a Nigerian, they call it the Edo kingdom, is a modern day Nigeria. Do not confuse this with the country Benin. Benin named after this empire. They use copper cast and lead as well as clay molds. Most of the artifacts is preserved in London Museum. European could not believe African could create them. So what they are, they actually in the castle of the Kingdom of Benin, they actually learn how to cast the iron. If I put a metal on a stove, you need 3,000 Celsius to melt some of the metal. And usually the European at that time, they did not discover how to melt a metal. So the copper, that's why you hear the copper age, the iron age, because they still discovering. While Africans, especially Benin, not only knew how to boil and melt the copper, they master the art of creating statues using copper, especially. The kingdom, apology. The kingdom of Benin created the copper under the order of the king of Ghana, which we're gonna discuss. It's not Ghana, the country of Ghana. When we get to Ghana in next few slides, we'll discuss what Ghana is. The dense vegetation and narrow path made the city easy to defend against the attacker. They extended for some 16,000 kilometers in all, the mosaic of more than 500 interconnected settlement boundaries. The Benin Wall were partially demolished by the British. When the British decided that Nigeria should be a protectorate, they went into Benin and they invaded the castle. But when they reached the city, they found the city like no other. It was the first city in all of Africa that the African walks in. They had actually full plumbing. There is no hole in the ground, or there is a outside sewer system like European cities. All the European cities, all the drainage was in the middle front of the door of the houses. So there is always a canal, and all the sewer that comes from the houses, they go into the canal, and the canal takes them to a lake or a city. These ones, they actually knew how to actually refine their waste. They used filters. First people used filters. They used sand as filter and mud for finer circulation of the water. They found boundaries. They found road. They have a meandering road. So if there's a military and they turn the light on, the outsiders cannot see where the military is because all the road is zigzagging. So the military, the plumbing, the hygienist in that city was above and beyond Europe. And when they saw it, they couldn't believe. So they asked them to become under the British. They refused. The British attacked them. They destroyed some of the walls, although there's some of the walls still. If you actually visit the Kingdom of Benin in Nigeria, which is still a kingdom, and there's a king of the Benin Empire still in power, you could go and see the artifacts, where they actually did the archaeology excavation, the Kingdom of Benin. They took the statues, they looted the castle, the King Castle, and they took all the statues and they put them in the British Museum. To attack the interior of Africa, they sold some of the iron to the European countries because they were masterpiece. The work, the fine work went into the masterpiece. They couldn't believe. So to fund their army, they start selling what they stole. Right now, 2011, Germany decided to return all the copper pieces. These copper pieces, if you actually seen the movie, Marvel movie, the Black Panther, at the beginning of the movie, that's when he asked the question, where did the statue come from? Did you pay for them to the British Museum? The British Museum, till this day, they refuse. They say it's part of England. We won the war. We took them. But this is an example, that a picture that I took from the British Museum. No one, look, this is from far away. If you look at every hit of a pin from inside, behind, the flowers, the details, the writing details they put in, a masterpiece. It's like any European Renaissance area. That's what they call it. They call Benin the Renaissance of Africa, from the art that they created using metals. The next one we'll talk about is the Sokoto Caliphate. There's a lot of kingdoms in Nigeria, but the kingdom of Nigeria was influenced from outside. That I'm only picking these two because there's a lot, like I said, in the time we have only limited time. It was founded by Usman the Fidu in 1804 after defeating the Hausa kingdom. To tell you a story about the Fulani people, actually, they all came from East Africa. The story is recommended. When Muhammad, the Muslim empire, when Muhammad got weaker, he defeated the infidel in Arabia, and all the slaves, the Muslim slave, they got their freedom. Some of them decided to cross back to Africa to go to back to the mother country. So 4 slaves were the first Muslims in earth, decided that I want to cross the Bab el-Mandeb back to Habasha, Ethiopia, and I want to travel in Africa. While they traveled there, they met the Fulan tribe, and the Fulan tribe, they're herdsmen, they're business herdsmen. They converted to Islam, and they swore they would spread Islam all of Africa, and they don't know how to write or read. Those 4 first Muslim, they're still buried in Eritrea today. And the Fulani are the biggest tribe in Africa memorizer of Quran by statistic. They memorize word by word, the whole 540 pages. There's no other tribes has it as much as them. There's other tribes. So when the Fulani took an empire, the Hausa, which is north, actually the Hausa, if you cut Africa in a straight path, right from Nigeria all the way to Libya, they could have their own country. But the Hausa, due to a greed of a human, they start deviating from the Islamic beliefs. They start making money, not because they earned it. They did not distribute the wealth to the poor as any corrupted kingdoms of that got sucked in through greed. So Usman, he was a very biased, and Usman said, I am a Fulan. Why the Hausa pass it from father to son? The Hausa empire should be an Islamic empire. So if someone died, his son cannot take unless he's a bias. He has to be voted by emirs, which is a governor, for the next sultan. And we have to establish a true Islamic faith because the Arab are corrupted. The Hausa got corrupted. We have to bring Islam back to its original. So with the training, they actually introduced horse riding in North Africa. If you actually go to Burkina Faso, which Amadou can tell you more, Burkina Faso, everywhere in Burkina Faso, you will see a horse, a sign. They're the cowboys of Africa. They're the horsemen, although the horse is not an animal of African descent. They introduced it with riding the horse and knowing the battle. They had an edge. They could defeat any army used to the horse strength and speed. They actually took in the power. I could see the extension of the empire. It is extend from Cameroon, Burkina Faso, Niger, Nigeria, and small part of Mali. It dissolved when the British German conquered in 1903. They lost a lot of battle. There is 30 different emirs, 10 million people in the most powerful state in the region of the most significant empire in Africa in 19th century. They say they had a lot of slaves. Yes, they did. They had a lot of slaves. Slave was common in Africa, but the slave treatment in Africa is totally different than the West. A slave in Africa, especially under the Sokoto, there is a written document in Arabic about the Sokoto Caliphate. A slave could get married. A slave could have kids. A slave, if his owner did not allow him to worship God freely, or he did not treat him correctly against Islamic law, he could go to court and switch owners as a slave. And if he convert to Islam, he become a free man. So there is a freedom, there is loyalty to the slave. So the definition of slave in the Sokoto is not what it means in the West. As a slave, I own the soul, I own the body. The soul in Islam, only God owns the soul. So it's a totally different when you hear that. Oh, I apologize. I know we're running out of time, so I'm going to speed up. If you go to Sokoto, you can see the map of Sokoto Empire is the biggest in Africa and West Africa. The walls of the entrance, especially in Kienou, they built each emirate. They had a fort to enter, and these fort they still kept, and there is still 4 emirs descended, the British allowed them to stay, and they're still in Nigeria as Emir descended from the grandfather from the 1300. And the doors of Sokoto Empire still exist. They didn't, not all of them get damaged. So if you go to Nigeria, make sure you visit the doors of Sokoto. So we come next in the West Africa of the Kingdom of Mali. The Kingdom Mali is the second biggest kingdom in Africa. It was later in 1230 to 1672, founded by Seniti Keita, used in Mandan language as an official language. The Mandinka, it's a language right now in Africa and West Africa, still highly used, especially in Mali. The Kingdom of Mali accepted Islam as their religion. It spanned the modern day countries of Senegal, Mauritania, West Sahara, Mali, Burkina Faso, Western Nigeria, Gambia, Guinea-Bissau, Guinea, the Ivory Coast, and northern Ghana. You could see the extents. The land was called Sudan. So all West Africa, the land called Sudan. When Sudan separated from Egypt as the Upper Egypt, the Lower Egypt, they picked the name Sudan to represent Sudan away from Egypt as the second biggest country in the kingdom in Africa. The people were Ghanaian. So if people from the Mali Empire, they call it Ghanaian. Don't mix them with Ghana. The country, the capital Timbuktu, but the land called Sudan. Musa, grandfather, was the first African, was documented. He actually used Arabic language. His grandfather used something, the Ghanaian Empire, which we're going to touch base in a few seconds. They actually, when he converted Islam and learned the Quran, they learned the Arabic alphabet. But how are they going to communicate with all the tribes and kingdoms in West Africa? So he decided, let's write every language in using Arabic alphabet. So he used the Mandinka, the Fulan, and everybody wrote his language using the Arabic alphabet. Then he says, if you could speak both languages, could you translate the languages? And they wrote the first dictionary in history of Africa. And that's how he could actually communicate with all the tribes. And that's how he became that empire. His grandfather started this. When Conquer Musa came in, he has all the road in West Africa established, and he made every tribe protect the road of the trade. So if anything happened to my fleet or my wealth in your kingdom, you have to pay penalty because I got robbed in your kingdom. So he made every tribe protect their own. So that will give a free passage for trading between Africa and the West Africa. They traded all the way to Morocco, all the way to Congo area. They got salt from the north and they sold the trade with gold in the Congo area, buying salt. Mansa Musa is the richest man in history. In 1280, he decided to go to his pilgrimage Hajj in Saudi Arabia today in Mecca. While he's traveling, he took 82 camels full of pure gold. When he entered Egypt, he was giving the poor sand, golden sand, as charity. The prices of gold went down to earth in Egypt. When he went to Saudi Arabia, well, today Saudi Arabia, to Mecca region, he went in when European had the dark ages and the Arab has the golden age. He found the science, chemistry, physics, poetry, languages, and he loved it. So he went and he says, I want the same thing in Mali. How I'm going to do that? He went in and he went talk to all the scientists and told them, if you could come to Africa with me under a contract, 5 or 10 years, I will give you your weight in gold. So the Arab said, sure. They weighed them in the gold and he left with all the scientists. One of the stories he says here, he found a poet that is in modern day Basra in Iraq that he fell in love with. He went to Basra. He spoke to the poet and told, come with me. I'll give you your weight in gold like everyone else. When actually he came to pay him, he ran out of gold. He didn't have nothing but except his crown. He took his crown and gave it to the poet. And he took all the elite of the Arabian, Mecca, Medina, Hijaz area back to Africa. They created the biggest library in history of Africa called the Jenin Library. In 1993, they found one of the books. They show you how you do an eye surgery that right now doctors adopted from their science. When the French attacked Mali, the Malian hid their books, the knowledge, into the sand. But due to poverty, they start selling them for, a couple of 300 euros to buy a book from the 13th centuries. France decided to copy the books and reserve them. They found the oldest handwritten Quran copy in history of Africa, and they asked Middle East to donate to reserve it. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia refused to donate to reserve the first book, and the Malian did it by themselves. So in here, you'll see the books that they have, the treasure of Mali, trading all this gold for the knowledge they got, the biggest library, the biggest university, one of the first university done by African, and Massa Musa himself, his brother, Abu Bakr II, documented, he built the biggest fleet in earth to cross to the New World. He calculated the circumference of the earth, 360, and he says, I'm going to continue and discover what's the side of the world. He left with modern day Senegal, and he sailed to the New World. But then there was no messages coming back to Africa. A lot of people says he found Africa. That's why you could see African shapes in the Mexico, but that's nothing documented for real, but documented that he crossed the Atlantic. This is the road that he created, the highways in West Africa of trade. This is his picture with a gold crown, holding gold, is the richest man on earth. The Kingdom of Africa, there is all the mosque in Mali, especially north, made of clay, did not use a stone. Why? In Islam, if you build a mosque, God will give you the same what you built in heaven. But only the wealthiest could actually find to build a mosque. The Mali Empire says, we make them with clay. So when the rain comes and destroy the mosque, there is a celebration. We have to refurbish the mosque. So the credit from God descend to everybody, not only for the rich. Even the poorest person, he will get the reward as building a new mosque. And these mosques, if you go to Timbuktu, Jenin, they still exist. The Asante Empire, it is located in today Ghana, in the Ivory Coast and Togo. The empire was built by slave trade. Historically believed this is the birthplace of slave. Why? In the north of the Santi people come right from the center of Ghana. In the center of Ghana is lush forest, and they find gold. When they find gold, they need to remove all the stones, especially volcanic stones and trees. They actually start enslaving all the small tribes and uses them as a free labor. And they said this is the birthplace of slaves. When they did it, they started the kingdom. When the British came and crossed with them, they said, we'll trade our gold for weapons. They were the only empire in all of Africa. They were weaponized 100% with pistols. They dropped all the knives and the sticks. They actually, the entire Asante, they used weapons. Asante, they have so much gold, they actually embedded their gold in their clothing, in the threads. If you ever seen Asante cloth, as they call it right now, you always see the color gold color. Why? Because they threaded their clothes with gold due to the abundance. Kumasi was the capital of Asante Empire. It was wealthiest state. The name Asante means because of war. They traded gold for guns used as a slave mine. The only kingdom in which king inherited the throne from his mother's side. So the next king, when the king died, his mother family will get the throne, not his father family. That's one of a kind. The Ashanti defeated the British invasion for Anglo-Ashanti wars, and they lost in the 5th war. So they defeated the British in 4 wars. That's how strong they are. But due to the time, I cannot go through the wars right now. So I'll show you here the Asante king that still exists. By the way, there is a Ashanti stool, which is the story that was given by God to the king, and only king hold to it. And the British tried to revoke them. They started the war, saying one of the soldiers, I'm going to sit on the throne. And that's what started the war. You'll see all the clothing he has and the amount of gold that he has on him because of the wealth of that empire. The Zulu, which is in South Africa, the British are the biggest defeat against a spear army. They had no guns and they defeated the British when a hand-in-hand combat with all the guns and the cannons against the Zulu. The Zulu means heaven. The people came and known as the Amazulu, the people of heaven, and the land called KwaZulu, and the capital called Natal, or the land called Natal. The small Zulu kingdom merged into the kingdom, changed in Zulu way, life forever. King Shaka was born in 1787, and he created the Buffalo Horn Army. All of this history came from the doctor. His doctor was a British doctor who came in, who married the Zulu wife, and actually became his own doctor, and he fought the British with Shaka Zulu. So all the history of Shaka Zulu came in from the Flan that is doctor. The nation expanded 3,000 to 2,500. Shaka conquered the empire, covering 80,000 square miles. Today they land in Durban. That's Shaka Zulu. The kingdom of Amazigh, one more kingdom and I'll finish. I promise in a couple of minutes. The Amazigh started the kingdom in Western Sahara, reaches all the way to Spain. The trip separated over Sudan. Sudan, remember, is West Africa, for the Senegal River. Abdullah ibn Yassin, a guy who is from Amazigh. Amazigh is a tribe which they call it Berber, the Western, but actually the Berber war means a savage man. They call themselves Amazigh. Amazigh, he went to Mecca. When he came back, he found the Umayyad empire were corrupted. The Arab were copying the West, the Christian, the castles, the slave, the haram. And he decided he want to establish a law of God in that area. So he took all the farmers and actually went to jihad against the Arab Muslims. And he declared the area free from Arab Muslims, and he declared himself as a Khalifa. And Khalifa is not a king, he's an inheritant of God laws and the treatment of a human being in God's eyes. In the Sahel in 1070, he founded the city of Qad. That's what the word Marrakesh, which is the second biggest city in Morocco today, and he called it his capital. Yusuf ibn Tazir, the co-founder of city of Marrakesh, led a Muslim forced battle of Zaghleb led by Tariq, and he invaded Spain. His empire reached Mali, Mauritania, Morocco, Algeria, Spain, and south of France. He got defeated in south of France. His descended of him. Then the Arab took place. All the doors of Marrakesh with the architect that you could see is built by the Amazigh. The Amazigh language still used. At the beginning, they used the Greek alphabet to write the Amazigh when the Greek and the Roman came in. But then when they converted to Islam, they used the Arabic alphabet to write their language. The story is, I think this is a very important story in history of Africa. Tariq ibn Ziyad was an Amazigh, but early on he was serving under the Arab Empire. The king of Septa, which is a kingdom inside Morocco till this day. There is actually 5 kingdoms inside Morocco as we speak, that if you actually enter those, you need an EU visa. And they are 100% in Morocco. And the UN said these kingdoms, Spain took them before the country Morocco became Morocco. So these kingdoms is for Spain. And the Moroccans not allowed to visit these kingdoms inside Morocco as we speak. So Tariq, the king of Septa, his daughter was studying in Spain next to the king of Spain. He raped her. He asked the Arab to come and rescue. They sent an Amazigh warriors because they're African, they're easy to spare. If there is a loss, not a big deal. And he crossed the Strait of Gibraltar. He went to Spain. He created a small fort on the Rock of Gibraltar. And he, with 6,000 army, he looked at 100,000 Portuguese and Spanish army attacking him. Because he has the higher ground, he beat them. When he entered to Cordoba and rest of Spain, he realized that was the entire army. They had nothing else left. Because he had nothing else left, he kept Spain for himself. Because he kept Spain himself, the king of the Arabs decided to pull him back, and they put him to jail because he did not do his job as given the right of the king of Septa back to Spain. He actually took it and called it a Muslim country. He named Spain and Portugal to Andalusia, which means heaven in Arabic. And if you go to Gibraltar, you could see his picture on the 5 pound of Gibraltar money, which is owned by England, but they pictured him as an Arab. If you see the historian in Damascus before he died, they drew him and you could see his skin. He was an African black Amazigh who invaded Spain, and the Arabs stayed in Spain. The Muslim empire lasted 600 years in Spain because of Tariq. And Gibraltar, really, it means the mountain of Jabal, Tariq. Gibraltar, Jabal means in Arabic, means mountain, and Tariq, Jabal Tariq, Gibraltar. That's the famous word of Gibraltar. It's after African guy, Jabal Tariq. That's the last kingdom we'll go in. The kingdom, it's the Bunyoro and Buganda. These kingdoms both located, their neighbor of each other in modern day Uganda. It started the British soldier who solved the mystery where he was the source of the Nile River. They said where the Nile come from. And they went around the Nile to find the source of the Nile. In 1858, John Haniger saw the lake, named it after Queen of England, Queen Victoria, which is still on the map, unfortunately, by her name, instead of all the people who lived there, called the Nile Lake simply. He discovered 2 kingdoms, the Buganda on Lake Victoria and the Bunyoro on Lake Albert, which is the north of that area. The British loved the fertile land of both kingdoms. They called it the Pearl of Africa. On the stamp, on the motto of Uganda, they still call it the Pearl of Africa. The only reason the British took Kenya to build a railway to bring the wealth from Uganda back to Mombasa so that the British could access to it. Same as Tanzania. Tanzania and Kenya were taken only to actually access Uganda. The first Kabaka, which means king in the Buganda, Katu Kinti in 1300, and first Omakuma in Bunyoro, which Omakuma means a king like Kabaka. The other language of Bunyoro was Kimbalbi. Bunyoro was the first strongest kingdom, then Buganda. So when the British came in, they saw 2 kingdoms. They said, we'll divide and conquer. They asked them if they first, all white people, I'm sorry, I don't want to say white people, the first white settlers from Europe came in. They actually came in, looked at the wealth, and they said, we are missionaries. We came to spread the word of God of Christianity. In Africa, you either in the north, anywhere north of Congo, the Islamic Empire, and anything below, you have indigenous belief. The exception, Ethiopia was Christian. That's the only exception in Africa. The rest of the denomination came by the West. The West went and spread Christianity. The king of Bunyoro accepted Christianity, while the king of Buganda accepted Islam because he traded with the Arabs for a long time and they gave him weapons. The Bunyoro became stronger. They fought each other till the Bunyoro found out that the British using them to fight their neighbors and taking their wealth. The 2 kings decided to hold power together and attack the British as one power. So the British traded with Bunyoro, balanced the power. They gave this guy weapon, then they gave the next guy other weapon, and they stopped giving power shift for almost 60 years. Shifting power, sometimes this one's stronger, something stronger, till they took the king of Buganda and they shipped him to the island of Seychelles. By the way, 6 African kings were taken to Seychelles as a jail time for them. In there, they asked him to convert to Christianity, and he converted back to Christianity. He left Islam, and he was introduced to Christianity by whipping him, actually. The story says they actually were slaving him till he accepted Christianity. The Buganda king chose Islam instead of alliance in Bunyoro. Then he converted to Christianity in only 1962. His descendant, when Bunyoro created, was exiled to Seychelles Island. This is a common fight between all the area. When you see all the borders in Africa, the borders in Africa was created by natural, either by lake or valley and mountains split 2 countries. When the West came in, they broke them for their economical benefit. They did not break the borders as for tribe or languages or ethnicity, for the economical. They broke all the borders in Germany, to be honest. They looked at the map, it's like, this is where each country goes. And they fought each other who could maintain it. When they went back to Africa, they said, let's divide and conquer. If you see a country like the Oyo in Nigeria, they always fought the Hausa. And they said, okay, let's make Nigeria never in peace. Let's give them one country. Let's put those two tribes together who are the blood enemy from each other. And let's see how they prosper. They always come to us and they will ask us to mediate between them. And they created all these boundaries in Africa. I will conclude with one story. I know I'm over time. My last story, there was a singer in the Caribbean, and that singer in the Caribbean, he was revoluting for freedom of Africans. A policeman stopped him and told him, my boy, because they called any African boy, why are you creating a problem? Why didn't you just accept your way? You're born slave, you will die slave, your ancestors slave. Look at Africa, they're all slaves. Why are you fighting the system? I like you. I don't want to hurt you. It's accepted. That guy came in, the artist, he stepped in the library for first time in his life. And he looked at the map at Africa and he was in shock that all of Africa were really slave. And he found Ethiopia wasn't ever conquered. So what he did is he made a couple of shows, collect money, bought a flight, went to Ethiopia and met the Haile Selassie. The Haile Selassie is the head of the chain. That's what the word means. He met him and he told him, Your Majesty, is it true? That's the way it is. We are always the lowest people on earth, and that's the way we just have to accept it. God created us damned, and we're gonna be damned rest of the life. He told him, lion, it's exclusive animal of Africa. But if he loses faith, he becomes a circus animal. With faith, he becomes the king of the jungle, the king of the beast. With faith, they're same thing, animals. They're both from Africa, but one is the king and one is a circus entertainer. The only difference is them is faith. Then he told him, are we the lowest people on earth? And he says, no, there was lower than us, the people of the Judah, when they got enslaved from Israel to Egypt and back again to Israel. And they went to the mountain of Judah and they create their empire. The religion still survived. So that student, on his flight back home, he wrote the famous song, I Am Lion in Zion in Zion. And that was Bob Marley. So I will leave you. I apologize for taking too long. Dr. Mabalou, I will leave you with a peace of the Lord on you. Leave today as the lion with faith that you're born to be. With history, knowing where you started and your kingdoms and your pride, walk head up high, like the lion that we're all supposed to be. God bless.
Wow, amazing. Thank you so much, Manaf, for this informative presentation. It's truly amazing how much knowledge you have on the kingdoms and empires of Africa. For one, I thoroughly enjoyed your presentation. Thank you again for sharing with us these interesting facts about our kingdoms in Africa. So up next, we will listen to the spoken word by Amani. Amani is known as the contemporary blues poet. She is an award-winning multidisciplinary artist, arts educator, and creative consultant. Now, in 2001, she held the honor of being the first African Canadian to have a featured play called Waiting to Explode at the National Black Theatre Festival in North Carolina. With roots in London, England, and Trinidad, and spending time in Nova Scotia, many years in Nova Scotia, her life and career has always challenged boundaries and blended genres of styles. So up next, please, Amani, bless us with your presentation. Thank you.
Woman, woman, woman. Who am I? I'm the black woman, woman. I'm the black woman. From my ancestry to present day, I have always paved the way, not afraid of what I do or say. Black woman, a vital voice in society, proud of my African history, know that it's my destiny to be steeped in positivity. When you look at me, you can't see my trials. When it comes to strength, I'm versatile. I'm the black woman. See, I've got this rich melanin that's deeply ingrained inside my skin, and though you may try, you just can't win, black woman. When you see me hold my head up high, you don't have to wonder why. See, I wear the scars of my life with pride, black woman. Will love my man like he's a king and share with him my everything. I'm the black woman. I will never settle for less. I've survived the Middle Passage and the enslavement test. On the black woman. Won't be a media statistic or stereotype. Won't yell to be heard or have to fight. Some the black woman. I stand strong and proud. Sing it hard, sing it loud. Whoa. Sisters, don't ever be ashamed of who you are, where you're going, or where you come from. You have something special that is not meant to be denigrated or disintegrated into nothingness. You are special. You are blessed. You are the black woman, 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 woman. Woman, 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 woman. Woman, woman. So good evening, everyone. As you heard, my name is Amani, and yes, I grew up in Nova Scotia, very proud. That's where my family immigrated to. And tonight I'm gonna share some new pieces with you. This first piece is called My Headspace. I'm in that creative space where footsteps are song lyrics and the wind blowing is the backbeat to an unwritten melody. That space where raindrops are stories yet untold. I'm in that space where my creativity feels infinite and where even the longest pause has a vibe. Next piece is called Expression. I express myself through ink on the page, through poetry on stage, through writing through my rage. I express myself when I'm feeling a vibe, when in love or want to cry, just to make time fly, because I'm a writer. And I express myself through spoken word, a vibe or bonding with my tribe, laughing out loud or not standing out in the crowd. I express myself however I want to. I just want to thank George and Bamalu for inviting me here. I've been a part of this festival for a few years when it was live, but very glad that we can still reach people virtually. You know, there's been a lot of different things that have been going on, and Al Jones spoke about things quite eloquently and passionately. And as a woman, Black woman of African descent, one of the things that I asked my own mentors this past year, because, you know, it's not always been easy, but I was like, how do you do this? What keeps you going? Because even though I'm a mentor myself, I still have mentors in my life. And many of them said that they were standing on the ancestors of people that came before them. And so listening to that lecture is so important to learn history. I unfortunately didn't learn it in school, but I learned it through Cultural Awareness Youth Group, through my brother, David Woods, learned about Africa before enslavement and many of the stories you heard here this evening. But sometimes it's not easy. And this next piece is called Black Pain. Black pain, falling down my face like rain, deep rooted and embedded in my soul, and my pain fertilizes memories of my ancestors and tries to build pyramids as handcuffs become shackles and bullets ignite protests. And I cry, trying to numb the pain, but it's still there like the distant heartbeat of the djembe. Black pain, kicking me down yet again, and my pain is reignited by breaking news, heartbreaking news with messed up worldviews, wondering if I still have a choice and if anyone hears my voice as blood spills on sidewalks into the atmosphere, turning the spilling of blood into chants for justice and new songs of freedom. Am I ashes or am I life? Am I advancing or still fighting for my civil rights? Black pain, falling down my face like rain, causing me to go insane. Don't want to feel this again, but it seems to be an endless refrain of my black pain, black pain, black pain, black pain, black pain. And so speaking of mentors and influences, this next piece encompasses me telling my story, and through my poetry, through my plays, that's how I get things out. You know, that's what I tell young people, get a journal and write it out. And so this piece is called Who I Am. Well, I describe myself as a British-born Trini with Scotian overtones, belonging to no one and yet belonging to everyone. Influenced by my mentors since I was young, and now that I'm a mentor myself, I'm still influenced by them because they are a part of my spirit, a part of my being. See, it's music and history and experiences that shape me. My brother David Woods had me read him big words from a big book when I was a little girl, and that shaped me. And my imagination helped me to escape a childhood full of pain and beauty, while the dichotomy of being West Indian at home and learning to be Scotian when I left my home made me search for who I was inside stories. And through stories and books and learning my history, that's how I became just who I am. See? I roam the streets with Sojourner Truth. I fight for equality like Rocky Jones. I revel in the her story of Chloe Cooley, and I poeticize words like Maxine Tynes mixed with a side order of, hey, I'm still rising like Maya Angelou. I got Scotian vibes like Matthew DaCosta, whose first steps on Canadian soil left a historic imprint for future migrations and immigrants like me to say I'm not just an immigrant, because immigrant in my mind means I'm a great. Yes, I've always had the power to be great. Like Jean Augustine, who came to Canada as a domestic from Grenada and then got her education to rise and be the first African Canadian woman in Parliament, and I too am great. Graduating from the transition year program to graduating from Dalhousie University to spending a year at Freedom Theater in Philadelphia to mentoring and teaching and writing, I too am great. And so I prescribed to Malcolm X while I jammed to Duke Ellington and to the a cappella tones of For the Moment. It's amazing, Lord, how salvation always comes too late for most, but too soon for some. My activism was ignited by experiencing racism at the tender age of 5 when I watched white kids try to beat my big sister. And then on another day when a boy chased me down a deserted street with a chain and told me I was gonna be his slave. Who am I? I am the summation of those experiences that made me read countless books with my library card, like Ramona the Pest and Are You There, God? It's me, Margaret, and be the funny kid who started fighting as a way of surviving because what I was dealing with in society was way too much for a young mind to comprehend. I had to find ways to breathe. I needed an escape. I needed to breathe. And are you there, God? It's me, Amani. So see, I learned to breathe like Marcus Garvey, and I want to create and preserve stories of mass and carnival like Tony Hall. I'm enthralled by the stories of Muhammad Ali while I pontificate like Josiah Henson and groove like the rhapsode styles of Brother Resistance. Rest in peace, my big brother Resistance. And yet, I can spit rhymes like Megan Thee Stallion, and admittedly, I cannot twerk like Lizzo, but secretly, when no one was watching, I tried. While vibing to Lauryn Hill, I revel in rappers' delight. I said a hip hop, the hibbit to the hibbit, a hip hip, a hop, you don't stop, rocking to the bang bang boogie, said up jumps the boogie to the rhythm of the boogity beat. While giving props to Little Kim, my jam to Maestro Fresh West, but sing along to the Dream Warriors and my mixtape heralds Salome Bay as I freestyle like Mishi Me with a side order of Drake. God's plan. I hold back, sometimes I won't. Yeah. I feel good, sometimes I don't. Hey, don't. See, I know that they don't always see us. And yet through pop culture, they want to be us. And I love me some Sister Soldier, but I handle racism like Michelle Obama. When they go low, I go high, high, high. See, I already told you, this is who I am. I am an intermixed affiliate who commingled with my past, present, and future. I am like a conglomerate aggregating an amalgamation. Conjunction, junction, I know my function. See, my engagement is embedded in my identity. There's a shift in the movement that's starker than atmospheric vapor, and that's just reality. See, I'm like an Insta story that survived longer than 24 hours. I post on social media, but I live in the real world, and that's my real superpower. Who am I? I am the song with rhythms yet unsung. I am the poet who slammed one time. And though sometimes my poems rhyme, they don't always have to because they are sometimes just spoken word, just words that are spoken. Who am I? I am Sylvia Hamilton with Black mother, Black daughter, who only now is understanding that her own mother was a creative. That perhaps all those songs she sang around the house meant that she was expressing her art, her inner soul, and that maybe singing out was her way of crying out. I am living a part in Trey Anthony's How Black Mothers Say I Love You. I am Jackie Richardson, powerhouse on stage, but so down to earth that I call her Mama Jackie. I am my godmother, mom number 2, who raised me and still raises me each and every day. I am a product of my ancestors, a story still unfolding, a sonnet with no rhyme, a queen yet to find her king, a leader and an activist, a writer who didn't study English, a playwright who is still discovering why Black women whisper. I am beauty, I am pain, I am enslavement, I am the blues, I am soul, I am old school, I am just who I am. I am a British-born Trini with Scotian overtones, belonging to no one, yet belonging to everyone. And each story and poem that I write is just another piece of who I am. Thank you.
Wow, wow, what a fantastic presentation by Amani. Thank you so much for blessing us with your beautiful poems. Truly, that was amazing. I thoroughly enjoyed that as well. You have a beautiful voice, by the way. I was just smiling throughout the whole presentation. Thank you again. Now, our last item for tonight is a drumming workshop by the master drummer himself, Amadou Kienou. We will welcome him again. We started off with him. You know, good things, you always have to repeat that. So we'll welcome again Amadou to bless us again with the workshop, a drumming workshop. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. How Candy was saying right now, my name is Amadou Kienou. I am a griot and master drummer from Burkina Faso. And I saw all of history here. I was really in, and thank you so much for that opportunity again. And let's drum. Okay, let's travel to Burkina Faso. And Burkina Faso, and people don't know, it is really like in West Africa. When you say West Africa, it's a really center for West Africa in the middle part. And that's where like the djembe drum came from. And we will drum soon together. And anyone sitting having a drum or a djembe drum, even you don't have a djembe drum, I know you have something you can use, but I know probably a lot of people have a djembe drum. Let's start together. And why we call it djembe? I know a lot of people call drum, but the drum have a name because a lot of people say drum. And we have a lot of drums, you know, but the drum came from what? Came from the word like we're using. And the drum just saying like a drum because it is the djembe drum because we have a lot of drum. We have a dunduns, we have a panloko, we have a saba, and we have main instrument like a paloko and ngoma. We have a lot of instruments in Africa. But what we're gonna see today, it is a djembe drum. And the djembe drum came from a tree and cut it from the blacksmith. And that's the one and cut the djembe drum. And after that, the work we do, and after that one, it is a griot like me, fixing the drums and making everything. You can see here, and that's how djembe, and it came from the wood called a lenke. And the lenke is one of the first like a djembe, like a wood, really like the best. And you can see here, and you have the hole here. That's like the mouth of the djembe. When you start playing, make sure you open your djembe mouth, and you can get the right sound. And you can see on the top here, that's like the skin. We put a lot of skins. We can put cow skin. We can put antelope, but we can put a goat skin. But the goat skins, that's really like the best one, because you can get the right sound with that. It's more like elastic, you know, when you play, you really feel like a vibration. That's why we like to put and the goat skin. And the djembe and the top here, you can see with a red, and that's and the bells we put to cover like the djembe, and standing and getting the right sound, and the cover like the djembe top part, and the skin, when the skin slide and the rings can catch them, can keep them. And you have a rope in the top, you can pull it to make the sound. And the djembe, we play djembe for a lot of events. And today, let's go with the first technique, and I know probably we will have another occasion, we can develop more about the djembe, because we play the djembe with a lot of instruments. You know, it can be dunduns, can be balafon, can be kora, can be ngoni, can be and jabara, can be bara, can be a lot of instruments. Okay, let's go with the djembe. The djembe have a 3 different sound: bass, the tone, and slap. The bass is like the foundation of the rhythm. The bass is like your stomach. The tone is like your heart, and the slap is like your head. Okay, why I developed that technique to help people to understand. Every single time when you're drumming, you're playing your djembe, make sure you understand the bass is like to keep the tempo, to feel the tempo. The tone is the rhythm we're playing. When you understand the rhythm, and the last thing, it is the slap. The slap is the variation, and everything go with the slap. Okay, this bass, how to get the bass? Your fingers here, you close them. Your thumb here, you put it like an L. You can read it like an L, okay? And mean you put that on the middle, and you have like the way, and your arms can go straight, and you have the bass. It's like a high five. You open it, we can read inside, and you go with the bass like that. And when you get that one, that's good. That means you're good to go. And after we move to tone, the tone is gonna be half of your hand, and half, you still have to keep the L always. Half of your hand like be on the bottom. Close your fingers, and you keep the tone. Same thing we can read inside. You can say hi to someone. You have the tone. And the slap is the same half, but the difference, you open your fingers and you slide your hands more on the top. And you can have like a plane flying, you fly straight to Burkina Faso, yes. And the slap come like that. And that three different sound make the djembe sound. And why we call it djembe? Djembe, it is a Malinke word, and it said get people together. And the Malinke, it is a two word and djembe. Djembe. Djembe mean get people together, like a united people. Djembe, that's why we call it djembe. And next time we can talk about all instruments, all meanings, and history of all. But today, let's go with two hands, and we will play the bass. And from your right side, I know if you're in your left side, let's start with the right side. That will be easy for you. Okay, the first one you can do 4 times with the bass. And after you switch to left, 4 times. And after we're gonna move to tone 4 times. And after we switch our hand like a left to do 4 times to tone. And after we switch again, we do slaps and 4 times. And after we switch to finish 4 times. Let's try it together with your right hand first. When I count 4 times, and we're gonna go. 1, 2, 3, 4, like that's 1, 2, 3, 4. You switch. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good job. Now let's move to tone. The tone. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's switch. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's move to slap. Now 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's move to another slap too. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you get that. How to do to play the both one? When you play right hand or left-handed, make sure you keep the same power, same volume. Right hand and left-handed have to be same power. One cannot be louder than a one. Keep them. And now watch my hands, gonna be like a V. You see the way I'm putting a V, you can see my arm is always a V. Even when I'm sitting, you can see it's a V. Keep the V, okay, like a life, okay? La viva, okay? And now, every time you play, don't change your hands directions, okay? Keep them straight, even you cross them, it's gonna be X. And you come back with the same one, okay, here. And now we're gonna do the variation from right to left. That will be 5 times, like a bass. That will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And after we move to tones, we do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And after we move to slaps, we do slaps, same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can we try together now? Okay, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good job. Now, let's move to tones. Same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now the slap. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Thank you so much. Okay, now if you're watching me, you're sitting with your djembe, you're ready to go. Let's start now the first rhythm together. And that first rhythm called Sandia. Sandia, it is a celebration of rhythm. Like today we talk about Black History Month, but I won't say Black History Month, but we have to celebrate Black history every year. Like it's a 1 year. You have to celebrate every single day. It's not only one month. You know, we have to celebrate in the year. When we finish it, we start in the next day, we dance and we play, we talk about history. That's how we have to keep educating our kids, our people who really want to learn about their culture. Before you go anywhere, you have to know where you came from. That's a more important thing. And the Sandia mean let's go. And understand, before you go anywhere, know where you came from. In the Sandia, we're gonna go with the first basses, right and the left. That will be bass, bass. And after we go with the tones, 2 tones, same right and the left, tone, tone. And after that, we go with the slap, slap, and the slap. And now we're gonna go with the both. That will be bass, bass, tone, 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 bass, bass, slap. And that will be now bass, bass, tone, 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 tone. Again, bass, bass, and slap. One more time, bass, bass, tone, 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 bass, bass, and slap. Okay, watch. Bass, bass, tone, 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 bass, bass, slap. Let's try together. 5, 6, 7, 8. Bass, bass, tone, 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 bass, bass, and slap. 5, 6, 7, 8. Bass, bass, tone, 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 bass, bass, slap. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Bass, bass, tone, 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 bass, bass, slap. Make sure your slap, you finish your slap. That closing the rhythm. We go. Right hand gonna be the tempo. The hand you're starting with, that will be the first tempo, like a 1, da, 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 Your right hand always going with the tempo. Tum, tum, ti, 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 tum, tum, and slap. That will be the tempo. Okay, let's try one more time. 5, 6, 7, 8. Do, 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 bass, bass, slap. Okay, bass like don, don, tun, 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 don, don, ta. And the ta mean the slap, mean go. Don, like on the bass, the tone, tone, stand up to go. Then stand up and go. Don, 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 and slap. 5, 6, 7, 8. Do, 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 don, don, slap. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do, 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 don, don, slap. Now you get the phrase, you understand. And now how to help you to understand what you're doing, okay? Just go with the melody. Don't try to count the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's gonna be too much counting. Just go with the melody. That will help you. When you go with the melody, let your body feel the rhythm. Don't just go because you have to play. Just let your body take the rhythm, okay? You understand it, let your heart love it, and put it in your stomach. Your stomach is full, and start eating now. Let's go. And now let's try one more time. Bass, bass, tone, 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 bass, bass, slap. Okay, let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Slap. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that whole thing is one phrase. Now let's do that 4 different phrases. 4 different phrases. That way, dun, dun, ti, 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 dun, dun, slap. Again, dun, dun, ti, 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 dun, dun, slap. Again, bass, bass, dun, 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 bass, bass, slap. Last one, bass, bass, dun, 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 bass, bass, and slap. Can we try now? 4 times, please. Let's go. When you're ready, don't rush, take your time, and we go. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Second. Third. Last one, 4. Thank you. You got it now? That's 4 times. Now you can feel it now. Feel the rhythm. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. Last. Thank you so much. You understand it. Let's try one more time. Okay, feel the rhythm again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey. Good job. You got it. I know you're happy. Even you're so excited, you can really say, oh, yeah, I got it. Yes, that's how you have to do. Feel your rhythm. Can we try one more time? 4 times again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey. Yeah. Yeah. Good job. You got it. Okay, let's try one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey. Yes. Last. You got it. Everybody got it. And you know, time is time. We start on time, but I know we have to finish in that 20. But I know you got it. If you really want it, you want to keep going, you have to keep it like that. Let's take a little time again and keep working on that. You got it now? 4 times again. Tum tum ti di 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 tum tum tam, tum tum ti di 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 tum tum tam, tum tum ti di 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 tum tum tam, tum tum ti di 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 tum tum tam. Okay, one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey. Yeah. Last one. Okay, now you can even do something really easy. Feel the rhythm. Keep going now. Okay, don't stop it. Okay, don't stop. No 4 times anymore. Keep going. Same thing. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4. And yeah. La. Keep going. Good job. Good. Oh. Last one. Good job. Good job. I see everybody understand now. When you get it, that's how you play your sandia. That's the beginning of the rhythm. When you get that now, you can go even slow. You can go a little medium, or you can go faster if you want. It's like some people like to. Everybody go with his like energy. Some people like to go faster. Some people like to go slow. And if you're feeling going really fast, you can go fast. If you're feeling goes a little slow, take your time, enjoy your music, and you understand what you do. Can we try, please, all together again 4 times? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, and 2, 3, and 4. Okay, now you get it. And one thing you can do, you put your right hand on the bass, and the left-handed, now you put that on the slap. Okay, now we're gonna do bass slap. The right hand stay on the bass, left hand stay on the slap. Okay, bass slap. You got it now? 3, 4, bass slap. 3, 4, bass slap. 3, 4, bass slap. Okay, you got it. Now we're gonna do it. Bass slap, bass slap, bass slap, bass slap, bass, bass. That will be 1, 2, 3, 4, slap. And now the last one, make sure you have the bass. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7. Okay, 7 now, and the 8 you finish. Bass, bass. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you want now, you can go with that, and that will be 4 times counting. That will be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got it now? Like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That will be too much counting. You can get confused. Go with the melody that will help you. Tuta, 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 pam, pam. Tuta, 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 pam, pam. 1, 2, 3, 4. Tuta, 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 tom, tom. 1, 2, 3. Last one. 4. Tuta, 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 tom, tom. got it now? Thank you so much. Let's try one more time together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Last one, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. Okay, you got it. And now you feel the sound there, you feel your rhythm, and I know now, and we have to go with the time. And a quick thing, George, and we have more time. I know it's a time now. We have to finish the workshop. I know it's already time, or Candy can answer my question, or George, if you're close, and we can see if any time we can go and we can stop now. Okay? Thank you. And if you're not close, Candy, yes?
Yes, thank you so much. I was just enjoying the rhythm. And you know what? I think I'm going to get myself a djembe thanks to you. That was amazing. Well, I can leave you to it. Yeah, go ahead.
We have a next week, or we can continue next week.
Absolutely, yes. Thank you so much for all the presentations today, and everybody else that joined us. Thank you for joining us today as we celebrated Black History Month 2022. And please, like Amadou said, please join us next week, same time, for more cultural presentations by our awesome performers. So we will be here again, same time next week. Thank you, everybody, and stay blessed.
Thank you. God bless you. Thank you so much.
All right.